Hey folks, this podcast goes beyond the saddle as we explore professional careers across the equine industry. I'm your host, Katie Clinebell. Let's tack up and head out. Hey podcast listeners, it is time for the season recap of our maker season. We've come to the end of talking to all these amazing makers in the equine industry. So this episode should give you just a little flavor of each of those little episodes. So if you get interested in one and you want to check it out, this should give you kind of that sneak peek. And we're also going to announce the winner of our giveaway. So before we get into any of that, I want to introduce my guest who's come on today to help me do this summary, bring together the whole season of makers into one nice, neat little package. And that is my dear, dear friend, Megan Berg. I asked Megan to come on because she is a creative in and of herself. She is one of the most creative people that I know. She is a photographer by trade, but we're sitting here in her adorable house in Southern Colorado, and we are surrounded by things that are handmade, things that she's made, things that she's appreciated and bought. So she just really has an appreciation for all things handmade and just really well done, like high quality craftsmanship. So I thought she'd be the perfect person to help me talk about all of the amazing makers that we talked to in our maker season. So thanks for coming on the show, Megan.
Thanks, Katie, for inviting me on the show. It's a big honor to be on the show. I've been with Katie kind of since she started this podcast, and it's exciting to be a part of it now. And yes, I am a lover of all things handmade. I will go out of my way to make handmade gifts for people because I grew up in a household where putting blood, sweat, and tears into things makes it that much more special. And I'm a sentimental person. And so I just grew up always crafting, always doing something with my hands. And I don't know how to not do things with my hands. And fortunately, I now, as a full-time photographer, I now do get to do that all the time. Whether it's the computer work or shooting the actual images, I'm doing it with my hands. But my leatherworking, my making cards, all kinds of things, I'm constantly. So this season was really cool because it dived into those type of people. Katie calls them tinkery type of people, but people that are constantly making new things all the time. And I think that's extra special.
It's so fun. And like the equine industry, especially on the Western side, but really the whole equine industry, there are so many talented people who make the amazing things that we need every day, the things that we look at that are beautiful. So it was a lot of fun for me to get to like interview these people and understand what makes them tick and how they launched their own businesses and all that good stuff. So I'm glad you're the perfect person for this because I know you have like an extra appreciation for all those things. A couple days ago, we announced a contest on Beyond the Saddle's Instagram to win a metal print of one of my favorite photos that you have taken, Megan. The title of it is Stories Told. It's this beautiful barn. And it's just amazing. So first of all, can you just tell us more about that picture in that barn?
So that barn is actually on one of Katie and I's good friends. It's her family's ranch. And that barn is over 100 years old. And it's everything you could ever want in an old barn. Chippy peely paint, old, to the point where the wood in the barn is smooth with the wear, with the oils in people's hands touching the door frames. And the barn has a ton of character, and it has a ton of stories that it can tell. The ranch, when it originally started, they had draft horse teams. And so it was a working draft horse barn, and there's huge stalls in there for those teams. The ranch no longer uses the draft horses. They still do a lot on horses. They're just a little bit smaller now. But that barn is one of my favorite places in the world, and it's not even mine. But I actually stepped out on Haley's front porch and snapped that picture. It happened to be a kind of cloudy afternoon, snapped the picture and turned it black and white. And I agree. It's one of my favorites.
It's beautiful. It's so pretty. So we're super excited to announce the winner of that later in this episode. So keep on listening. We're going to give you a little summary of each of the episodes within the maker season, and then we're going to draw the winner, and somebody's going to go home with a metal print of that, which makes it even cooler because if you've never seen a metal print of a photograph, like it's just so much more rich and just, I just love how it looks. So I'm super excited to give that away. And the Equine Network is also going to give away a magazine subscription to the winner. So we'll announce that here shortly.
Perfect. Yeah, make sure you guys stick around towards the end because we will announce that winner. But Katie, let's talk about your maker season. You had a lot of really unique people on this podcast and people that have so much grit and determination to do what they love. And I think that's awesome. So your first 2 episodes were about your fine artists. Go ahead and talk about those fine artists.
Yeah. So it kind of worked out how the season laid out that there's kind of like groupings, right? So the first 2 were fine artists in their own way. So episode 29 is with fine artist and educator and illustrator Joanne Y. Pierce with Pierce the Heart Lessons. And then the second one that followed that was episode 30 with independent equine artist and painter Danny Powers. And both of these episodes definitely spoke to my heart and inspired me in ways to go and create something, right? Like, I am not an artist. I will tell you that right now. Like, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't any of those things. But I tell you what, after talking to both Joanne and Danny, I was inspired to go do those things, right? Like, they just made me feel like you have some artistic ability in you and like you can express it in your own way. Like, both of the episodes really spoke to me. Joanne is just such an uplifting human. She's from New York, so she's got that like fun New Yorker, kind of style and accent, which is also super fun. Joanne helped me really understand the therapeutic value of what she does. And she talked a lot about how throughout the pandemic, she's used her art and teaching her art and putting it online and exploring a whole new avenue of her business to really help people. So that was really amazing. And of course, her subject matter is horses. So what's not to love? So if that is in any way something that you think would be interesting to you, finding a release, using art, sketching or illustrating or getting out your colored pencils, as a release and as therapy and like for your own mental health and drawing horses because it's, good for your heart, definitely tune into episode 29 with fine artist, educator, and illustrator Joanne Y. Pierce. And then Danny Powers from episode 30, she just has such a fresh perspective on artwork and even just like decorating your house, right? Like, her pieces are these huge paintings that are really colorful, really bold. And her perspective is so refreshing because I think there's a ton of amazing Western artists out there. And I love all the traditional Western art. But it's really fun to see someone kind of flip it on its head and talk about it in a new way and how she's really built her business around speaking to those people that appreciate that kind of art. So, I was really inspired by her because of her perspective is just different of how she looks at, what can I present to the world that's unique and special with my own skill set. And she definitely brings that to light. And I had so much fun talking with her too.
Yeah, and I would agree. Danny is probably, I got a lot of empowerment out of Danny's story because Danny has had so many challenges in her life and she's overcome all of them. Danny's just a cool gal. And Joanne, you could be best friends with Joanne. Yeah. She just wants to make you feel welcome and wants to make you feel comfortable in your own way, which I think was so cool. Your second 2, they're all about storytellers, which spoke to my heart because I'm also a storyteller because of the photography. So let's talk about the 2 photographers that you talked to.
Perfect. Yes. So we did episode 31 with equestrian photojournalist Nancy Jaffer. We're so lucky to work with Nancy because she is one of our freelancers with Practical Horsemen and Dressage Today. So she goes to all of these amazing equestrian events, takes the photos, brings us the stories. So she does a lot of writing alongside her images. She's super talented and she's done everything. She's been everywhere. Everyone knows her. She has such a credit to her name. And then the second episode that kind of falls in this storyteller category is episode 32 with photographer, videographer, and content curator Amy Dragoo. And Amy is on staff with the Equine Network as a photographer, and she also does videography for our on-demand platforms with Dressage Today On Demand. And Amy is just a bundle of joy. She's just a funny human. So there's a lot of laughs in that episode too. But really talking to both Nancy and Amy made me look at people in a different way, which is their total job, right? Like, they're storytellers and they're so authentically about telling the story of the people that they encounter, telling the story of them through the images that they take, through the video they take, through the journalism that they do, and just really appreciating the fact that everybody has their own way that they got here and their own reason for being here and their own way of interacting with the equine industry and being a part of that equine industry. And they both tell their stories in such a beautiful way. And I think that's something that we can all appreciate and definitely learn from.
And I couldn't agree more with Katie about them, the way that they tell their stories, because they not only tell the story of what's happening right in front of their camera, but what happens in the background. what happens, how those athletes get to that point and who helps them get there. And I think that's so cool because that's not something everybody sees every day. You don't know that there's 10 other people that help that athlete get to where they're at.
Yeah, totally. Nancy definitely is on the journalism side and takes that very seriously about getting the article exactly correct, whatever information she's putting out into the world. So if you've ever thought about journalism and, you happen to love horses, guess what? You could be an equestrian journalist. Like, that is a real thing. So tune into episode 31 with Nancy Jaffer if that's of interest to you. And Amy is a photographer. Like, she has taken her craft of knowing exactly how to capture a moment in time that happens to be of horses, which is the best thing to photograph. And she's turned it into her entire career. And she's done very well for herself. And we at the Equine Network, with the publication she helps us with, we couldn't do our job without her. So if that's of interest to you, tune into episode 32 with Amy Dragoo.
Yeah, a couple of pretty cool gals. All right, your third set. This is probably my favorite because they actually work so much with their hands. But your third set is product creators.
Yes. Yeah. So episode 33 is with leatherworker and Western artist Kaylee Klein. And episode 34 is with the founder of Mare Modern Goods, Mary Campbell. And both of these gals have super fun Instagram presence because they make these super amazing products, like you said, with their hands, with their creativity and their brains. So definitely go check them out there. But Kaylee's episode, she is just so inspiring. And I know I keep saying that, but they are these artists, they just speak to me in such a different way, right? Because they're so passionate about what they do. Like, Kaylee is so ingrained in her craft and she wants to perfect it and make all of her leather pieces, whether it's a piece of tack or anything really, anything you've seen in leather, she can do it. She has done it. And she wants it to be perfect and she wants it to get better and better. And what I love most about Kaylee's episode is that she really talks about the tradition of what she does and how she can pass that on to the next generation, which I think is so powerful and so important for us to think about in the equine industry. And Mary is kind of the other side of that coin. She was into horses and definitely rode a lot in her younger years and then kind of stepped away, focused on her career, went into marketing, became this amazing graphic designer, developed all these skills to do that, and then kind of came back to horses thinking, surely there's these new amazing things in the equine industry, new products and fun, cute, colorful things. And she was kind of disappointed. She was like, I think we can speak a little bit more to the fun side of people, and make these really fun, bold, colorful things that you see in her store at Mare Goods. So she kind of, is the other side of that coin where she wants to see something new and fresh. And that's what I love about creators because it's their perspective on the world and how they can bring something that the rest of us love and we have to have and we have to buy. And, it speaks to us.
Yeah, both these ladies, very unique stories in how they got where they are. Kaylee, especially, I thought it was very neat that she actually played polo and did the horse thing, but in a different sector than she's in now. And she talked about in her episode, she wanted to be a tattoo artist and still does want to be a tattoo artist, but she really shows her artistic abilities in her leather work. I just think it's awesome. I wish I could have the talent that she does.
She's so cool. Yeah, they're both definitely awesome. So if you are a creator in that way, where you want to work with your hands, if you want to design your own products and start your own store, you should definitely check out both of these episodes. So episode 33 with Kaylee Klein and episode 34 with Mary Campbell. Whew, I think we did it.
Yeah. Well, there's your maker season. I think it was awesome. It was fantastic. 6 really awesome people.
Yeah, no, it was super fun. I kind of went with the team. We were brainstorming about what can we do differently in Beyond the Saddle in 2021? When we thought of these themes, I knew that I had to do makers because I thought there would be such amazing stories to be told. And there are so many amazing makers in the industry. So I was excited to be able to highlight just a few, and there are so many more. So please seek them out, please buy local, that kind of thing. Support your local creatives and the people that are in your industry because they're amazing. They really are. So Megan, I want to know, because you have such an appreciation for that kind of work, which of those episodes was your favorite?
So I've already kind of alluded to it, but Kaylee was my favorite, partly because I started doing leather work when I was a kid. That was something my dad and I did through my 4-H career, and her leather work is incredible. I wish I could work leather like that girl does. And just her story and her authenticity the entire time, it just was extra special.
It is. It's just such a great episode. I definitely recommend anybody, go tune in. Kaylee speaks so authentically. Like, that's the perfect word really to talk about, to summarize who she is and how she was on the podcast. So that's episode 33 with Kaylee Klein of Magpie West Leather. I love it. I love it. Well, after listening to all 6 of these, all different aspects of makers within the industry, like, what did you take away from it? Like, after listening to them all, like, what did it leave you with?
I think the biggest takeaway I got is makers as a whole, we all see the world differently. And makers project how they see the world for everybody else to see. Mm-hmm. And I think that Katie talked about that with Danny Powers, in that she is very unique in her sector of the Western art industry, but it's how she sees the world.
Yeah.
And I think for myself as a photographer and a maker, I see the world differently than the next person down the line. So being able to show people what I think is important is awesome about all makers. No matter what you make, everybody's a maker. It doesn't matter.
That's so true. That is so true. We are all makers. You're totally right. I think for me, like, all of that, yes, 100%. And then for me, like, my biggest takeaway, if you listen to each of these episodes, like, these people are really entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they took something that they were passionate about in this craft that they wanted to learn and perfect, but then they had to go and make a business too. So again, I mean, it comes back to like having those business skills and knowing how to market yourself and knowing how to do your taxes and like all of those things. I mean, yes, it's wonderful, 100% wonderful to follow your passion and do something that brings you joy. But the reality of that is too, like, you're going to have to get real good at the business side of things, whether you want to or not.
Yeah. Which for a creative is tough. Like, right brain people are not necessarily good at the left brain stuff.
Right.
So it is, Katie's absolutely right. It's 100% amazing that these girls are so successful with their businesses, because as a creative myself, it's hard to do the nitty gritty stuff.
It is, but it's fun too. And watching them, like, how they've overcome those challenges, which all 6 of these women talk about how they overcame those challenges and are still working on it, right? So if you are in the entrepreneurial space in any way, shape, or form, maybe you're not an artist, but you're an entrepreneur, these episodes, you'll get something out of them, trust me, because they've learned a thing or two going down the road. All right. I think we're ready. Do you think we're ready to announce our winner?
I think so.
Okay. We're going to do a random drawing of everybody who entered our Maker Season giveaway. Thank you to everyone who did enter. Thank you to everyone who just in general follows us on social media. Of course, like Beyond the Saddle, we're super happy to have you and interact with you. And if there's something you want to hear on the podcast, let us know. So this giveaway is kind of a fun way to do that. But also go check out Megan's photography page, which is Flying M Photography. Your handle is
Flying M Photography 15 on Instagram, and then Flying M Photography on Facebook.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to jumble up all of our winners here, and we're going to do a random selection. And the winner is The Practical Magic on Instagram is her handle. So congratulations. Thank you so much for tagging and following along and, interacting with us on Instagram. So thank you for that. And we will get in touch with you on details of how you're going to collect your prize. So we'll ship out that metal print to you, and we'll get your magazine selection. We'll get that in the mail to you. So congratulations.
Okay, so now that you're done with your Maker Season, what's next? What are we doing?
Yes, I'm so excited. So the next season, we had a lot of requests for this, actually. And so part of the perks of interacting with us on Instagram or social media in general is that you get to help me kind of curate the next season. So I had a ton of people reach out, and they really wanted us to talk to people who work in events or people who work for association staff in the equine industry. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk all about events in the industry, the associations, the organizations that help put those events on, that play that role. And there's so many. Like, honestly, narrowing it down and finding just like 6 guests to do this is really, really hard. So I'm looking forward to, like, in future years too, as we go down the road, talking to even more people. So that'll be fun. But it's funny, Megan, because we kind of have a history working in events together. That's how we met. So we interned for the Greeley Stampede, which in Northern Colorado is like a concert and rodeo series. And we just had the best time, and like we became the best of friends for it. So like events they're fun. Everybody thinks they're fun. But when you work for them and you put them on, it's like, it's bigger than yourself. So I'll always remember that.
I would agree. It takes a unique person to do events. You have to kind of thrive on chaos a little bit. Event people are some of the most hardworking, honest, gritty people I have ever met. So I'm so excited for this season because Katie's right. There's so many sectors to this industry, and I'm excited to see where you take it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We're going to try to cover like as many corners of the industry as we can. And like I said, like in future years, we're going to be able to cover even more, which will be super fun. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting because events are kind of what we live for as horse owners, right? Like I want to go to a horse show. I like to go watch these events, all these things. So it's really kind of what makes our industry go round. Like the event sector of the industry and the associations, are so crucial to the equine industry. And I'm excited to share a little love with the people who work there. So it'll be super fun. And I know there's a ton of you out there who have asked for this. So send me your questions too. Like if you guys have questions that you want answered, send them my way and I'll be sure to work them in so that we can get those kind of burning questions you have for the event industry answered on the podcast. Well, thank you so much, Megan. This has just been such a delight to come together and really have this whole discussion and get to pick your brain about what it means to be a maker. Thank you seriously from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Yay.
And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for riding along. Know someone that would be great to interview? Have questions you'd like answered on the podcast? Send me an email at beyondthesaddlepodcast@gmail.com or join the conversation on social media. You can connect with us and learn more about the Beyond the Saddle podcast by following us on Facebook and Instagram at Beyond the Saddle Podcast. Find more episodes anywhere that you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Beyond the Saddle is a production of the Equine Podcast Network, an entity of the Equine Network.